Day 6, Hamstring Havoc. Next, we are going to tackle some more latitudinal stuff. So let's start with standing again. Okay. Oh yeah, I was thinking that's there, but I put it up. Smart, smart. So get a prop. You might want it. Okay. And you're gonna put both hands on it. Okay. This prop is high for me, but I can also make it work. I could use a windowsill. I could use a bed frame. I could use a dresser. I could use a chair. I could use a table. I could use a couch. I could use a yoga block, or I could not use anything and use the floor. People that have a lot of range of motion still have tight hamstrings. So what we're going to do is a curtsy. Just what it says, right? I'll start facing forward, and I'm going to take my right leg behind me so that my inner thighs are squeezed and crossed. That's pretty essential here because now these things are turned on, which means if the inner thigh is on, and we're talking reciprocal inhibition, the inner thigh is on, outer hip is stretching, and we've already talked about how the outer hips can affect the hamstrings. Wraps around, right? Like a spiral into a lateral stretch up into the outer hip. So you want to kick through that heel. And this, you can bend your legs or you can straighten. Both of these are options. If you want to be active with it, you can bend and straighten. Bend and straighten. When I bend, I can lean into this butt cheek more and get in more to the outer hip, which wraps around to the butt and down the hamstring, and that feels really nice. I can also straighten, keep my spine straight, and my right leg is behind me, my right hand is down. I can take my left hand to my left hip, roll and stack my spine up, and look over my left shoulder to kind of accentuate the length that's happening and the squeeze of the inner thighs, which, let's take a peek real quick. This muscle, adductor magnus, wraps around into the hamstrings. Okay? So it's unfortunately all very connected and therefore complicated. So that's our good standing option for today. Now we're going to take it down to the ground and we're going to repeat some of that, but from a more grounded shape. So what I want you to do is I want you to be in a lunge, and I'll switch sides. Let me go left leg forward, right leg back lunge. Okay? If you tighten your hamstrings, you might only have a 90-90 lunge like this. If you tighten your psoas, you might only have a 90-90 lunge like this. Let's peek at a couple things that you can do while you're here in your lunge that will help out the hamstrings journey, okay? To the greatest extent that your back leg will allow, engaging at the back of the knee and at the hip flexor to lean forward into that front leg, in and out. People want to go back into that half split, but that's a lot of range of motion for most people, especially if they have no idea if their hips are going cockamamie and they can't feel the engagement here. So my recommendation would be less is more. Just find that engagement and sink into the front of the hip is working, so the back of the leg is stretching. The leg is it's not really stretching per se. It's up here at the butt that it's stretching, but back here you're getting some activation. So then when you come out of it, that's where you're getting some release. Turning things on, getting some release. Turning things on, stretching at the butt, so then you get some release, okay? Then, after you've done a few rounds of those, if you want to go into lunge to straight leg, you can most certainly do that. That's pretty basic because that's just working the lengthening, the engagement, the compression, and the longitudinal stretch. But we're here for the cross fibers. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to switch sides now. so that you can see me plant my hand. And now I'm going to face the front so you can see what I'm going to do once my hand is planted. I want to space left to right. And then I'm going to take this whole leg and I'm just going to let it fall away from me. And I'm going to spin open and drop into the hip. So right now, this is sort of spiraling, and because it is spiraling open, I'm stretching from the middle of the hamstring across to the inside and out. This is also getting stretch, but what I'm focusing on is what's happening here. All right, opening up the hip. These things are stretching. The outer hip is engaged here. All right, from the other side, I'll show you from a couple of different angles. Right, this is opening away from my body. In fact, I can lean my body away, and it doesn't even matter how low you are on the side. You can be way up here with the side. As long as your body and your leg are leaning away from each other, things are spiraling across the thigh muscles, and so you're getting a stretch. And then one more time. You're going to the outer hip and to the outer foot and letting this leg open. So spiraling here. Okay? So once you have done that spiraled open lunge, you're going to turn to the back leg, take your foot with you, and kick this leg long so that you're getting from the inner thigh into the back of the leg. Stretch. And you can go back and forth. Low lunge, spiraling open. Inner thigh stretch. Low lunge, spiraling open. Inner thigh stretch. Other side so that you can see it from both angles. Low lunge, spiraling open. Inner thigh stretch. Low lunge, spiraling toward the front leg and back even, letting this hip go down. Walk it forward. Get the inner thigh stretch, which can be up here. If you find that this is a stretch that is very tight for you in the inner thigh and you can feel it going in to the back of your leg, then maybe you just stay here and you go in and out. This is similar to doing your child's pose, front to back, but you just have one leg kicked out to the side, which targets that intersection of the inner thigh and the hamstrings more. So that's that. You have your curtsy, doing it actively, going back and forth between your bent leg and your straight legs, where you are getting more of an emphasis on the outer hip, or you're getting more of an emphasis on the inner thighs active and the elongation that happens as a result. And then you can bring it down to the ground for your low lunge. You can work the low lunge using some of the previous concepts that we've discussed to stretch the length of your hamstrings by deepening the lunge, coming back to neutral, or being neutral and lengthening the leg. Or you can spiral the lunge open, and then once you spiral the lunge open, you can go into an inner thigh stretch, which you can do one and then the other, or you can do as a little sequence going back and forth between